Oh no, monsters are attacking the city! Again, in another movie. With more big monsters. Welcome to Dry Conclusions. Today we're reviewing Rampage, based off the fabulous 1986 arcade game. Oh my goodness, I've forgotten about this one. Now I played this game way back when in junior high. And seeing the preview and hearing they're going to do this, wondering how the heck are they going to turn this into a feature-length film. Then it surprised me by actually having a decent story that worked. Up until the last 20 minutes or so. And it started off with such a great hook. Really exciting. And the storyline was actually pretty interesting and engaging. And the longer it went on, it got more intense and serious. And it was far more than I had been expecting. Also a bit gorier and more violent than I thought it would be too.
Right, I wasn't expecting much from this movie either, but I agree. At first, I was really into it. I thought the acting was pretty okay. The characters were decent. You know, Dwayne Johnson in this movie, he's just doing his Dwayne Johnson shtick kind of thing that he does. And the movie was so good in the beginning that honestly, for the first little while, I thought that the movie really deserved a better lead actor than Dwayne Johnson. I didn't think he was really doing the movie justice. Naomi Harris as Dr. Kate Caldwell, I thought she was pretty good, actually. I thought she was one of the strongest actors among the cast. And I liked her character, too. Like, her motivations really made sense and everything.
Right.
And then the villain, you know, sometimes villains in movies like this, especially because I just was expecting this to be a very, very silly movie, sometimes the villains can be very silly. But she actually seemed clever enough and evil enough to pull off the nefarious scheme that she had going on. And she did have this doofus sidekick brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a bad guy, but, you know, it was pretty clear.
He was a schmuck.
Right. She was just keeping him around because he was her brother. And then there's Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays this, like, cowboy
federal
government agent. Yeah, it's just weird. And he provides some funny moments in the movie, but he also has some of the most groan-worthy moments of the movie.
Especially toward the end, it got pretty hammy.
Yeah, you know, there's some bits between him and Dwayne Johnson that really work, that are kind of funny. Yeah. But overall, it's a fairly hammy performance. And again, for part of the time, it really works, and it's okay that it's hammy, but at the end, it gets to be pretty ridiculous. It really runs the gamut from a bit silly and fun to pretty ridiculous throughout the film.
Visually, I thought this movie was fantastic. The monsters looked real. They looked awesome, powerful. And they had some really interesting and unique designs, and I thought that was really awesome. Yeah. The CGI, in particular for the gorilla George, is really well done. He's so expressive and even charming.
Yeah, it's a good character for the most part. Yeah. But then what doesn't work for me is when they start having him be crass, using vulgar signs. It's played for humor, but for me it just makes him less endearing of a character than he would otherwise be.
I think with that stuff, it was kind of funny in the beginning, but they went back to the well a little too often, and it just got tired fast.
Yeah, and there's one thing that he does in particular that I think is just completely unnecessary and gross right at the end of the movie.
It was like, really? Yeah. Now? Come on.
Yeah.
Other things that kind of bugged me was like they really overused the location titles throughout this film. Really unnecessary announced traveling to this city or this region or that region. As if, like, the visual cues for most of it, in particular cities and landmarks, you figure it out.
Right.
And it just was really unnecessary and just lasted too long. And it was just, like, really distracting. It's like, okay, I get it. We're going from this place to this place.
Well, and it was really overdone. There were times when it's like, it didn't matter where they were. They were only in that location for a few seconds, and they're like, we're in this location. And it's like, who cares? Or it's like they're showing an airplane taking off from an Air Force Base and they tell you what Air Force Base it is. They don't tell you the city or state that it's in, by the way. Yeah. Just the name of the Air Force Base. Like, you're supposed to know that's supposed to mean something to you. Like, if you're not even telling me what part of the country that's in, why are you telling me what Air Force Base it is? I don't care. You know, anyway. And there was one time they do tell you, one time they don't tell you. It's all very random, confusing,
not consistent,
overdone, ridiculous, and distracting throughout the movie.
Right. The sound effects, they were pretty sweet, I thought.
Yeah.
It was loud in several places, and when the monsters roared, the chair was rattling, and it was a really awesome effect that really just pulled you into the show.
Yeah, I thought that enhanced the experience for sure.
It was like, holy crap, my chair is vibrating.
Yeah. Despite our complaints about the film, the first 2/3 or 3/4 of the movie actually mostly really worked.
Yeah.
It has its flaws, but it's all working. The plot's interesting and engaging. And, you can overlook the imperfections and still enjoy it. It's entertaining. But then in the last act, they just go
full moron.
Right. It's like they had this pretty decent script, and then all of a sudden it was taken over by a group of 12-year-old boys who just wanted to see some cool and funny things happen.
Right.
And it got really, really silly. It starts off with some of the smart characters in the movie making some really dumb choices that don't make any sense, except as ways to set up future sequences that the writers and directors thought would be cool. And then there's just this one moment in particular, this moment when the villain finally gets her comeuppance in the movie. And I think, when we talked about it afterwards, we both went, yep, that was the moment when they completely lost me. Where I was just like, okay.
Yeah,
this movie just jumped the shark.
Yes, definitely. I mean, leading up to this particular sequence we're referencing, there was a way for them to really handle it organically. Like the film storyline was actually going that way. But they decided to just not bother with that and then do something really tired and stupid.
Yeah, right. And from that moment when it jumps the shark, it just gets worse from there.
Yes.
It doesn't recover, and it ends up.
It has a cool action sequence at the end, but they could have had that anyway.
Right.
It didn't need this.
Right.
It was stupid.
Well, and there's some things even in the action sequence that are just really, but
yeah.
But what ends up happening, some of these really silly, super silly, ridiculous things that happen in the movie at the end up just kind of trashing the experience that you've had up until that point.
Yeah.
And ruining the entire effect of the movie.
Right. It does kind of just you got done in by the worst gotcha joke ever. You're just you got me.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So that's really unfortunate.
I would say up until the final quarter of the film, I actually really enjoyed this. It would have given it 3.5, 4 stars, but with that last little bit just really dragging it down, I'd probably just give this movie maybe 2.5 at best.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a 2 or 2.5 at best. I do not recommend seeing it in the theater. I don't recommend seeing it at all. Actually, I think this is one of the worst movies that we have reviewed on our channel, and this is a movie that if they do a riff tracks of it in a year or so, then it's definitely worth watching with riff tracks.
Yes.
It'll probably be just as funny as watching Transformers with riff tracks. So
I don't know. That's a tall order to tackle.
But I don't. If you are going to see this movie, I do not recommend taking your young children to see it. There are some crass moments. There are some very violent and gory moments, and
a lot of language.
And there's a lot of bad language. So it's definitely a PG-13 film.
Right.
So take that seriously. Do not bring your 6-year-old to this movie.
No.
So that's it. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Drawing Conclusions. Please do not forget to like this video, leave us a little comment, and share with your friends. And then, of course, subscribe. Thanks.